Is this thing on? This thing working? Are we working? It's working, isn't it? Hey, what's up, my friend? Keala Kanae here, and in this quick video, we're going to talk about the top 5 copywriting tools that I personally like to use in my business. So if you've been around my community at all, been a client of ours, if you've seen any of my stuff on the web, you may know by now that I just love talking about marketing and sales, specifically anytime that we're using words to influence someone's decision making. It's just this stuff just fascinates me, right? So I get asked fairly often, Keala, what are some of the tools that you use when you're writing copy? I'm going to share with you my top 5 suggestions, and one of these has made a remarkable impact in my business. So stick with me. Let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so the top 5 copywriting tools that I like to use in my business. Let's start with number 1. The first one's probably not going to be all that mind-blowing, right? It's basically just Google Drive, right? So this is one of my Google Drive accounts. You can see here I got shared drives. I'll go into our marketing. This is where my marketing department keeps some of our stuff. And here you'll see campaigns and promotions. I'll pull that one up. And inside here, this isn't all of them. This is from some of the ones that we did last year going into this year. But what I'm doing here is I'm using Google Drive as a repository to keep all of my ideas. So instead of me writing, whenever I'm writing content that's going to go out to our list, whether it's emails, SMS text messages, some landing page design, normally what I'll do is I'll write the copy inside of Google Drive first before that goes out to anyone. And the reason is it's just a much better editing tool and writing tool than a lot of the email platforms that exist out there and whatnot. It gives me the space, the kind of blank space to create ideas. And then more importantly than all of that, it gives me a place to deposit what it is that I've written so that I can reflect back on it more easily, right? I can go and look into that old storage and find some of the old stuff that I've written in the past. So what I've found over the years is that sometimes when I sit down to write copy, I just need a little bit of inspiration. I need, sometimes the ideas don't start flowing just as easily as they might on a different day. And so what I'll do is I'll pop in here and I'll start looking at some of the old copy that I've written to get some inspiration. On top of that, oftentimes we find ourselves promoting the same thing to our list over and over, and by keeping that in folders, I can go look at the last promotion we did around our affiliate contest. And instead of me having to come up with new, fresh stuff to write, I can go look at what we wrote in the past and I can repurpose some of what we wrote. So I know that one's not necessarily like about how to write better copy. It's more of giving you a tool that you can use as a repository to store the copy that you've written, be able to reflect on it more easily, look and get ideas, and then also repurpose some of the content that you've already created in the past. So I found this one to be, like I said, all of my copy goes into Google Drive before it goes anywhere else, right? Before anybody else lays eyes on it. The second one that I'll share with you here, let me just move this mouse over. I'm gonna pull this up. So the second one that I'll share with you, here we go. This is one I go to fairly often, and it is the good old thesaurus. That's it, right? This is probably the tool that I use second most often, okay? Maybe third most often, we'll see. Again, this is only my top 5, so these are the top 5 tools that I use. But the thesaurus helps me find ideas when I feel like I'm using too much boring language, right? So like right up here, we can type in boring. And look, it gives me other cool words that I can use, right? Humdrum, lifeless, monotonous, tedious, tiresome. These are words that stuffy, stupid, stodgy. Never even heard of the word stodgy before. Have you heard of the word stodgy? It's an actual word. So whenever I feel like, I just want to spice up this sentence a little bit, or I want to spice up this headline a little bit, and I'm drawing a blank, the tool that I go to most often is just my trusty old thesaurus. I'll type in the word and I'll look for other similar words that are maybe a little bit more punchy, maybe a little bit more unique, that people don't see every day, which makes them a bit more engaging. Now, one thing that I do want to caution against here is probably the thing that annoys me most from copywriters that we've even hired in the past, and probably the thing that has caused me to fire the most amount of copywriters that we've hired over the years is copywriters tend to, in my experience, want to be more clever than clear, right? They love being clever in their copywriting, and yet by being too clever, you end up being less clear. And confused people don't buy. So I prefer clear over clever. Now, with that said, I also like it, clear can also be kind of boring, kind of ho-hum, kind of monotonous. In fact, it can be a bit stodgy, right? So whenever I feel that my writing's been a little bit boring, I'll pop on over here and add some words in there to spice it up without compromising the clarity. So I hope that's clear for you. The next tool that we'll talk about is, let me just pull the mouse back over here, a tool called Grammarly. So I like this one so much, I have kind of forced it upon some of the team members on my team if they write anything. Grammarly is just a great tool. It is a paid tool, so you can add it to your Safari, Google Chrome, whatever browser you're using. I believe it works with all browsers, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, what Grammarly will do is not only does it help correct the grammar as you're writing and make your writing more grammatically correct, which is something that really annoys me with copywriters. I don't care how good a copywriter you are, for whatever reason, for me, when I see copywriters that just are grammatically all over the place, that's one of those kind of signs. Those are one of those things I just will not hire for, right? For me, having both good grammar and great copy go hand in hand. One is not better than the other, right? And the reason for that is we tend to, as a society, we tend to not take as seriously those folks who lack good grammar, right? It undermines their authority if they do not use proper grammar. And so I tend to be a little bit of a grammar Nazi in that way. So we'll use Grammarly. A cool thing to mention about Grammarly is it also has a feature called Tone Detector. So it can also pick up the tone of your verbiage, which is really nice because a lot of what, as human beings, it's been said that about 85% of our communication is nonverbal, meaning it's not anything about the words that we're using. It is in our hand gestures, the look in our eyes, the emotions that we're displaying on our face, right? And that conveys more in communication than the actual words being used. So as copywriters, we then are relying on words alone at times, right? So we're relying on the 15 to 20% to do 100% of the work for us. So the 15 to 20% of communication to do almost all the work for us. With Grammarly, what I've been able to find is that it picks up some of the tone in what you're writing and can help you understand how you're coming across, even though it's just words on a screen, which is a pretty nice little element to add in there, on top of just making it grammatically correct. Now, my favorite tool is a tool I'm going to share with you next, and that is, pop this over here, the trusty old Hemingway App. You can find this at hemingwayapp.com. This is hands down my favorite tool of all the tools that I've talked about. So I learned about this tool actually at an event that I was attending. It's a high-end mastermind that I'm a part of. It's cost $30,000 a year just to be a member. I was in the room and there was a company being represented there by some of their team. That company does over $1 billion a year in sales, and they leverage copywriting very, very heavily to generate that revenue. And one of the speakers there shared that this is a staple amongst their entire team of copywriters. Everybody has to use it. It's part of the training when their copywriters get onboarded. And what they found is that the writing that is the most effective is always a grade 4 level or below. In other words, the readability, the content of what's being said is at a grade 4 reading level or below. Now I want you to consider this. This one company is selling high-end investment knowledge, right? So these are investing newsletters primarily. So they are selling to well-educated, people of means, let's say, right? So fairly wealthy, well-educated people in North America who are already investing in the markets. So these are intelligent people, and yet what they found to convert best is still writing that is below a fourth grade reading level or below. So oftentimes before I send an email, especially if we're heavy in a promotion, before I send an email out to my list, I will take it from Google Docs, copy paste it into the Hemingway app that you can install on your desktop. I'll copy paste it into the Hemingway app. I'll look for some of the things that it'll trigger you for to let you know, when you kind of have too much of a run-on sentence, when you should maybe break up, make it easier to read by breaking up the sentences. But mostly what I look for is that readability score. Is it grade 4 level or below? And oftentimes, being an expert in my field, being an expert on the topic that I'm talking about, I can oftentimes start getting carried away with sharing knowledge or information and at some point lose my reader without ever really realizing it. So this is probably the tool that has changed my copywriting the most and that I would give the most credit to of all the tools that I'll be talking about. And then the last one, number 5. So this one is the Advanced Marketing Institute's Emotional Marketing Value Headline Analyzer. So basically what this does is it just gives us an emotional analysis of the headline that we're using, right? So let's say that I'm going to write a headline on a landing page. So let's say that headline is going to read, how this formerly broke coffee shop employee, i.e. me, went from 0 to 6 figures in 6 months. So that's my story. If you go back to the beginning of my story, going into 2012, 2013, when I had my first success as an affiliate marketer online. So it'll give me, hey, that's a pretty good score. So 46% EMV, right? So emotional value. So here it reads down here, 46.67%. It gives me a green score. So I know, hey, just by looking, I can tell this headline is fairly decent. It'll explain why the headline is decent. It even says here, for comparison, most professional copywriters' headlines will typically have 30 to 40% EMV words in their headline. So emotional value words in their headline. The reason this is important is because understand that all buying decisions are emotional. If you just get that one thing and remind yourself of that every time you're writing copy, every time you're trying to generate a sale, every time you're doing a webinar, every time you're doing anything in which you're trying to generate a sale, if you can just remember that one piece, that one tidbit, right? That all buying decisions are emotional. And therefore, in order to generate a buying decision in the mind of your prospect, you must tap in to those emotions. So by creating an emotionally driven headline, we're more likely to pull that website viewer, that viewer into the copy and further into the sales funnel, the sales presentation. So if this headline were going above a video or a video sales letter, let's say, the likelihood that somebody is going to read this headline and then stick around enough for me to then capture them with the video increases dramatically, right? So this is one that I use fairly often. It's pretty good I might use it occasionally for subject lines on emails, but primarily it's when I'm writing headlines or subheadlines for a web page. So for most of our funnel building. So those are my top 5 tools. Again, Google Drive, Souris, right? Grammarly, the Hemingway app, by far my favorite, and this here, the what is it called? Advanced Marketing Institute Emotional Headline Analyzer. So take these few, put them in, add them into your arsenal the next time you're writing some copy, and I guarantee use these properly, and you'll find that you create better results, better clicks, better opens, better engagement, better conversions, better sales, more money, and isn't that the point of writing great copy? I'll see you in the next lesson. Oh, by the way, take some time around here to maybe subscribe. There's going to be buttons somewhere around here. There's a button, and you can click on it, And when you click on it, you can subscribe, you can get notifications, you can get all that jazz, and then you'll know the next time I add other videos to YouTube to add value to your life as a marketer. I'll see you in another lesson. Take care.